What's going on, guys? It's still in there. Today we'll be going over a ticker symbol analysis on the ticker symbol MSTR strategy. Before we get to the video, just want to let you know we'll be doing a price prediction using a variety of different technical analysis techniques. We will not be skepticizing where stock price may go, news, none of that. We'll just be using data points from a variety of different time intervals to get a solid price prediction. With that being said, let's go start over from the weekly time frame so we can get a very broad plain eye perspective, and then eventually we'll get to a bird eye perspective being the daily, and then lastly the hourly. So we'll get a nice full scope analysis of where the stock price may or may not go. Let's get straight into the video. So looking at the weekly time frame, we do see a weekly bull flag continuation pattern. And this is very simple, guys. To keep it brief, stock price rallies up before going into a period of consolidation. Yes, this is neutral, but considering the prior trend moving up, this is inherently bullish within nature. Then we do reach the top of this range, we break out before forming another one. And this flag ended up taking a very long time to form, guys. This is about a 6-month flag, maybe a little bit less, but roughly in that time, as each one of these candles represents 1 week. So with this theory, with this technical pattern, which is very, very clean, guys, you would expect at least around a month or two of price action to come from that. So since the breakout, which we've been following on the channel very closely, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of breakout. Then we have a little bit of a pullback, which we'll get into, guys. But, looking on the weekly time frame, yes, we are retracting, right? We came back to these wicks, which we've been mentioning. This general gauge, we have a lot of price targets. We're taking it very exact here, a lot of resistance on different time frame. But if you want to be very, very broad, we have these general wicks at these tops, which we've been running to on the weekly time frame. And we've had some struggle, guys. Does it make sense? When you look in the past, this massive bull flag that broke out, starting at that $108 all the way to 543. Where do we find resistance, guys? Yes, we wicked out all the way to the top here, but we did consolidate in this spot for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks before having a very, nice consolidation, reaffirming that continuation. But as of now, guys, on the weekly time frame, we are seeing a reversal at these highs over here. But, the structure is still nice, guys. If we zoom in a little bit more, to analyze the candles, yes, you could say it's a rounding top, a bearish pattern at these tops. That's true, guys. But, I think the overall bullish trend in this breakout, it's not something you want to short, guys. At least not me. I don't want to burn my money. Yes, there could be more move to the downside, right? It's not out of this possibility at all. We'll get more into that on the daily and the hourly, guys, but we're still in this massive structural breakout. And even if we just hop over to the monthly, guys, this candle is still yet to be formed. Yes, we have an inverted hammer candle, from these highs, looking like it could drop a little bit, guys, but just look at the structure. It's coming out of this huge consolidation phase, right? This huge consolidation phase. And then we have this massive breakout, very disciplined candles being very tight. And that's what we've seen, guys. We've seen a lot of disciplined price action. Is very nice. So although we are seeing some current negative action on the last couple of candles, guys, as far as the long-term analysis, looking weeks out, right? Months out, we're still looking good, guys. If anything, a pullback here and there can help out. Yes, we're seeing some early signs of some pullbacks, guys, but I think it's a stretch to say the long-term trend of MicroStrategy stock is bearish. I definitely feel it's a stretch. So with that being said, let's go move over to the daily time frame and give a little bit more of a medium-term analysis. We're on the daily time frame of MicroStrategy. If you've been following the channel over the last 3 to 4 weeks, more or less 3, we've been really mentioning, guys, that $400 level, and that's still an area we have to watch, guys, right? As when stock came to this area, it's really been the make or break area. You see this general spot, we point in, we make this area big. We've been mentioning this for a reason, guys. When stock price gets above this level, we held above it here. We had a very explosive move to 543. We came down. We tested it once. We collapsed. We tested again, just ton of touch points. We get above it, immediately flush. We get above it, we immediately flush. And that's been the trend we've seen, guys. Stock came down, right? And just how tight this consolidation is, following this huge movement, guys, that's how you really know it's a key major spot. Stock dragged around. It came back to this area before getting flushed again. And that's what we're seeing right now. We mentioned we had a couple of wicks pressing against this spot before we gapped up over at. which is a good sign, but we weren't able to break the next level. Yes, we were holding that $400 level, but we never got over that 422.25 we've been mentioning very hefty. And, that was the next breakout level. As within the last few days, it actually looked good, guys. This big flag pull structure, a very strong move in stock. Buyers are stepping up from this breakout level, right? From this breakout level, we're pressing up, we're going sideways, we're building that flag-like formation. And all we had to do, we mentioned this in the last video, was get over 422.25. As then in that spot, all we have to take out is 440, and then we have this massive gap zone. And that's still in play, guys. It might take a little bit now, so maybe there's, a little bit of a blip in the road. But there's a whole lot of upside from that 440 to that $500 range. We jump to the weekly for a second. You see that, guys. There's zero gap, arguably until 543, but that psychological $500 marker point will definitely be some resistance. So jumping back to the daily, we held over that $400 level, teasing around it for a couple, about a week or two, and we kept pressing up against it, man, and we had that nice full flag breakout, and we couldn't quite get over it. And a good lesson for you guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, but more or less for the beginner traders, when you do have a very nice setup and stock comes up and rejects, not quite able to break that spot, that's when bears like to come in, guys. And then at that point, you have a false breakout, and that's what we see, guys. We've seen the false breakout at the flag. We jump over to the hourly. We zoom out just a little bit. You see that's what happened, guys, right? We broke over this level for 1-2 hours before immediately getting flushed, right? We came back up. We whipped over that level again. So some pretty rough action, definitely a little bit of a fake out. So as of now, we're working with a very big wide bar, pressing down. Once we lost this $400 level, you've seen the reaction, guys. You've seen the reaction. It was pretty violent. This is a key spot. We expected this. And we're currently pressed up right on that major level. Let's see what that level is. I believe it's 368. Yes, 368. So we are exactly pressed up in that last support zone, 368. That's a pretty key spot, guys. So we will see what will happen as far as that short-term support. It isn't the strongest support at 368, but we are pressed down at that. So if you see the wick of this candle being taken out, stock starts to move a little below it, say 366, right? Then at that point, we should be moving down to the next support zone, which is that 354. And that 354 support, guys, is very, very key. This 354 and this 343 is major, major, major support, guys, especially that 343. So keep that in mind. If you followed the channel about a month ago, roughly, we were mentioning these spots when we were down at this area. And, we did retract back down. If you take the Fibonacci from the bottom of this movement, this breakout, all the way to the top, you see we're roughly around that 50% retracement. So historically, this should be around the spot for a bounce. But as of now, guys, we just have to see when price reacts. Because, I'd be lying sitting here right now saying with this big wide bar, pressing down, breaking this $400 level, that, we're going to immediately bounce at this support, which we're pressed against 368. That's not how it works, guys. We're working off implied probability. So once we start to see some more candles on the daily, we'll a little bit more data. But I think it's an overreaction to say that, this move is completely snuffed. We're breaking out of a 6-month-long bull flag. When you jump back to the bigger time frames, we're still working in the right direction. I think, as you continue to trade over the years, really over that 4 to 5 year marker, maybe 3 to 2, it's different for every person. You start to understand things from more macro perspective. And I think that's the mindset we have to have, guys, that yes, there is some turmoil, a pretty nasty rejection. But as of now, guys, we just have to watch our marker points. We have 368 being some strong support, right? And then we really have that 354, which you'd like to see being held. And then that 343 being last resort. So as of now, guys, it definitely is in the air. I think it's pretty probable we see a hammer candle on the daily, just kind of hanging around at this level. As we took about a week to, 2 weeks, really, just holding at this $400 level, being really, really stubborn, not really choosing which way we want to go. And now we plot right down a pretty sizable measure right on a level, right on a support level. So I think it's pretty probable we do see, one of these candles, the hammer candle, kind of pressed up against, testing it out. So looking at the daily perspective, guys, we are expecting that support zone to be tested. And that's what we're working with, guys. We're still seeing, a long-term nice trend. But as far as the short-term, yes, bearish. You got to lean bearish, but be careful, guys. Once again, I would not rush to short this, despite having a little bit of some nasty rejections there. I still think, a bounce could happen. It's just really what support zone is a real question. So that's what we're getting from the daily, guys. Let's go jump over to the hourly. So on the hourly time frame, we do see that personified more, guys. We had this very nice bull flag pressed up, right, bouncing off that zone, keep bouncing off that $400 zone for weeks, guys. That's been the middle ground. And it was really good we're holding above it, but just weren't able to get over this level. And that's what we're following very, very closely. We pressed it to the end of the spot, looking like we're going to get out for rejecting against that level once, 2, and 3, 4 times, 4 hours of price rejection, coming back down to the 400, getting that bounce, for coming up and wicking again. If you jump to the 5-minute, yeah, we were only above that, guys, for a couple minutes. So, yet to get that close, you hate to see it as far as a buyer. It would have been, in a perfect world, we'd break out and then we'd test 440 and then really get some exciting movements, but it's not what happened, guys. So looking at the chart right now, it definitely does appear that we could get some consolidation. As stocks typically don't, just move linear. Typically they don't just knife all the way down. It usually doesn't happen, especially with strategy. Really likes to take its time, and I think it's pretty probable we follow a consolidation like S pattern over here. As you see that we came down to that 378 level perfectly, forming that hammer candle, right? We jump to the 5-minute, we see it a little bit better. Just really negative action, pressing down. We formed these lows over here. We've swept those. Liquidity grab, moving all the way down before bouncing this level. Pretty nicely, guys, and having a nice movement. So we did see some buyers at this level, which we would imagine. None of the other levels really did too much. So that 370, 378 will even be more personified and more important now, guys, as we've seen price, react from a pretty nasty movement. So, looking at the spot as of now, the stock, it is more probable, guys, we get the consolidation. I don't care who it is, what their background is, guys. We need to let stock simmer. We need to let stock settle and test these zones. As yes, we're breaking this, this $400 level, which, as we mentioned, is not what you want to see as far as a buyer perspective. But if we zoom way, way out, guys, we're still bullish, right? We're still moving up. It's a very, very simple metric and technique, guys. But, this will save you a lot of money if you're a trader, trying to short the tops of these strong stocks. Yes, it is a violent move, guys, but we need to wait and see what happens. So I wish I can give you guys a little bit more, but that's really what we're working with. Keep an eye on that 368 level. Likely that we do come and bounce around that, potentially bouncing between 381 and 368, really finding a base. If we do break 368, keep an eye on 354. That's a very, very, very major spot. In the past, when we initially broke out, we formed a nice bull flag right about over that level for ripping over, right at that level, coming back down, bouncing perfectly. And we have many other touch points from a variety of different time frames. So keep an eye on that, guys. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, all that. We will be following strategy a couple times a week. I wish I could give you guys a little bit more, as I said, but we have to work with what we got, guys. And the data as of now, is definitely indecisive, but we're still working in the right direction. As of now, it's a little bit too early to say that the party is over as far as a long-term perspective. Despite seeing some short-term negative momentum, we do have some solid support zones we'll be watching. So keep an eye on these support zone, guys. We'll zoom in a little bit so you can get a more clear image of that. But with that being said, guys, I hope you have a good day. Take care, like, subscribe, all that, and